Hi everyone, I'm Scott. Welcome back to my series, The Decades of Action Challenge. I am looking at a series of essays on avclub.com by Tom Breihan called A History of Violence, in which he basically writes about what he considers the most important action movie of each year, starting with 1968 and moving forward to the present. 50 years of the most important action movies, as you do. I've been trying to guess what he'd pick ahead of time, and as it stands right now, I've attempted to guess 30 of his selections. I've only gotten 17 of them right. That's just slightly over half, 56%. Not so great. Recently, he said that he would be doing Taken for 2008, Universal Soldier Regeneration for 2009, a Korean film called The Man from Nowhere for 2010, Fast 5 for 2011, which is the essay he just published today, and 2 weeks from now he'll be posting his 2012 essay on The Raid Redemption. So I'm looking forward to seeing The Raid Redemption. I've only seen it one time, so I'll be seeing that again. That'll be lots of fun. Lots of good martial arts in that one. So Casino Royale this week. When I started this, I was a little worried about rewatching movies that I'd seen too many times and getting kind of bored with them. And that, I guess, happened more with this movie than with the others that came earlier in the list, simply because this movie is more recent than the stuff from the 90s, and it's on TV like all the time, If it's on, I'll watch a little bit of it. It's probably on right now, even as I speak, as you're watching this. And if it isn't, it'll start in like half an hour. Go through your cable channels. It's on at some point. Casino Royale, of course, is Daniel Craig's first turn at James Bond. It's an adaptation of the first James Bond novel, the novel that in which James Bond becomes James Bond, basically. The movie starts with him not as 007, as the 00 status agent with the British intelligence, but he achieves that by killing a couple of bad guys in the opening sequence. And then, after the title sequence, we have what I consider to be the very best action sequence in the movie, and one of my favorites of this of the decade, which is him pursuing the parkour bomber, a bomber who is very, very good at parkour through a construction site. It's just an amazing sequence, just fantastic. And what's really great about it is you see the contrast very clearly in how each of these two men deal with the obstacles in their path. This guy will jump and leap and bounce back and forth, and Bond has to be a little bit more creative, in how he deals with all the various obstacles in his way, how to get up high, how to get down low, how to dodge this and that and what have you. There's a cat here that's bugging me for petting, so she's demanding petting, so I will see to that. Anyway, so beyond that, after that, basically, it's him trying to figure out who the bad guy is and what the bad guy wants. And we, in the audience, really don't know what he wants until about halfway through the movie, when he unsuccessfully tries to blow up a plane, or the bad guy has hired a bomber to blow up a plane and drive some stocks down and make him a bunch of money. The bad guy, his name is Chiffre, and he's basically a money manager for terrorists. He, at the beginning of the movie, basically gets about $100 million from some cartel guy in South America, or maybe it's Africa, I forget exactly, and invests it in a short. If you've seen The Big Short, that's basically where you bet against a stock going up. His whole plan basically is to blow up, have a prototype airplane get blown up so the company's stock will go down, so he'll make a bunch of money. And when Bond stops that from happening, the guy's in huge financial trouble with these terrorists, so he sets up a poker game in order to win, his money back. And so M, played by Judi Dench, assigns Bond to play against him in the game and get the make sure that he doesn't win. Eva Green, of course, plays the rep for the bank that's staking Bond in the game, and she's like, you realize if you lose, then we'll have essentially just handed, money over to terrorists, the British government's money over to terrorists, and, that can't happen at all. So the stakes are fairly high for that game, and that's really the set piece of the film. It is definitely an action movie, but the action scenes don't last nearly as long as this poker game, which takes up, a good portion of the second half of the film. Something I haven't talked about a lot on my channel recently is that my dad passed away in July. And when this movie came out, we went to see it together. This was 11 years ago now. That the movie came out, I mean. He was always sort of critical of the recent James Bond movies, A, because they weren't based on actual Ian Fleming books. Ian Fleming, of course, wrote the James Bond novels. And also, he didn't really like the actors who were playing James Bond. He felt Connery's the guy. Connery really is that character. And we both thought that Daniel Craig made a very, very good James Bond. Which was nice. It was nice to see someone that was believable as a really sort of intimidating character, and not someone who's just good at telling jokes and filling in where the stuntman leaves off. Some of the Pierce Brosnan movies I like. I like the Timothy Dalton movies. I haven't seen all of the Roger Moore movies, but I've seen a few of them, and the ones I like the best are usually like the worst ones, just because they're so funny. The Connery ones, I've seen most of them, maybe not all of them, but I have seen, starting from Timothy Dalton forward, I've seen every single James Bond movie in the theater when it came out. And Casino Royale is definitely one of the best. It's not a perfect movie. It goes on way too long. The villain is actually taken care of well before the movie is over, and there's this whole sort of period where you're sitting, Bond is hanging out with Eva Green's character, Jesper, and you're just sort of saying, okay, the movie's not ending yet, so something else is going to happen. Let's let it happen. Yeah, Daniel Craig's a great fit for the character. I really didn't dig the last Bond movie, Spectre, very much at all. It was quite boring. But I like the other ones that he's been in. And Skyfall is probably the best of the ones that he's done. But nothing in Skyfall matches that parkour sequence where he's chasing the guy through the construction site. I'm sorry I didn't look up the actor's name ahead of time, the parkour performer who plays the bomber, because he's clearly, super athletic and really good at what he does. Yeah, it's just a great scene. And overall, really, really fun movie. Brings, kind of that more serious tone to Bond, whereas the last, the Moore movies and the Pierce Brosnan movies, they got pretty silly at times, especially Die Another Day, which is just one of the worst things ever. Really, really terrible movie. Yeah, Casino Royale, it's a winner. It's definitely good, and it certainly deserves its reputation. Oh, the director, Martin Campbell, of course. Martin Campbell is best known for directing not only this movie, but also the first Pierce Brosnan Bond movie, which is GoldenEye. He also directed the not very well liked Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. One movie of his that I really enjoy is actually a legal thriller with Gary Oldman as an American lawyer representing Kevin Bacon, who's on trial for murder. That's called Criminal Law. Yeah, that's a good movie. Some good twists. Martin Campbell's a very decent director. He's got a good style to him. Not in your face. Doesn't pronounce, this is a Martin Campbell movie you're watching. But yeah, he does well with it. And whenever he's got a movie on deck, I'm thinking, okay, that might be worth checking out. So yeah, all I got to say right now about Casino Royale, okay, next week is 300, that's the Zack Snyder film, of course, based on the Frank Miller graphic novel, so I hope you'll tune in for that next week. If you want to see more of these videos that I'm doing for this series, the link to the playlist is below, as is my Facebook page, if you'd like to check that out. And in case they're watching, I'd like to thank the Late to the Party guys for taking my suggestion for a retro trailer to watch. They looked at the Mosquito Coast trailer with Harrison Ford from like 1986, which is a really good trailer. Unfortunately, they talked through most of it, but it was nice for them to do that, and they mentioned me by name, so that was really nice of them as well. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. With a review of 300 by Zack Snyder, which is also a movie I've already seen. But I'll be rewatching it after many years of not having seen it. Thank you. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.